Being cheap is making you poor, and I can prove it with science. That obsession with cutting costs, that guilt every time you spend money, it's not making you rich, it's keeping you broke. Today I'm showing you the psychology research that proves extreme saving destroys wealth, why buying cheap actually costs more, and how the wealthy think about money completely differently than you've been taught. Let's get into it. Here's something wild. Harvard economists discovered that when you're constantly stressed about money and cutting costs, your brain literally gets dumber. Not metaphorically dumber, actually measurably dumber. The cognitive drop is 13 to 14 IQ points. That's the same mental impairment as pulling an all-nighter or being a chronic alcoholic. Your brain on scarcity thinking performs like your brain after zero sleep. Think about that. Every time you're agonizing over whether to buy the cheaper toilet paper or spend 20 minutes clipping coupons, your brain is running on fumes. You're using all your mental bandwidth on nickel and dime decisions while the big wealth-building opportunities fly right past you. Researchers call this the bandwidth tax. When you're obsessed with cutting costs, your brain develops tunnel vision. You see the $3 you might save on groceries, but you completely miss the $30,000 raise you could get from a certification. You notice the $5 coffee, but you're blind to the career opportunity at that networking event you skipped because tickets cost $50. 87% of Americans experience financial stress at least weekly. And financially stressed employees are 5 times more likely to be distracted at work. They miss twice as many days. The stress of trying to save money is literally costing them money. It's a trap. And most people don't even know they're in it. Now let me show you why the math of extreme saving doesn't work. The average American household spends $6,545 per month. Housing takes 33%. Transportation and food take another 30% combined. That's 63% of your spending on things you basically can't eliminate. You need somewhere to live. You need to get to work. You need to eat. So when someone says, just cut your expenses, they're really saying, squeeze harder on that remaining 37%. Cancel Netflix. Stop buying coffee. Never eat out. And look, you can do that, but there's a floor. You cannot cut expenses below zero. At some point, you're living on rice and beans in a studio apartment, taking the bus everywhere, and there's nothing left to cut. But income? Income has no ceiling. The U.S. personal savings rate is 3.6%. At that rate, it takes 29 years to save 1 year's worth of income. 29 years. Or you could spend $300 on a certification that increases your salary by 25%. On a $50,000 income, that's $12,500 more per year. Every year. For the rest of your career. You could save $500 a month through extreme frugality. That's $6,000 a year, and you're probably near your maximum realistic cuts. Or you could do a coding boot camp for $12,000 that increases your salary by 51%. On a $45,000 income, that's $23,000 more per year. The boot camp pays for itself in 6 months and then keeps paying you forever. The returns on investing in yourself make savings look like a joke. College graduates earn 37% more than non-graduates. That premium is near all-time highs. PMP certification holders earn 33% more than non-certified project managers. AWS certified professionals get 27% average raises. Cybersecurity certifications lead to jobs paying $136,000 with growth 242% above the national average. That $2,000 course that seems expensive? If it gets you a $15,000 raise, that's a 750% return in 1 year. Find me a savings account that does that. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Being cheap doesn't just limit your income growth. It actually costs you more money directly. There's a famous concept called the boots theory. It comes from a fantasy novel, but economists have proven it's completely real. A poor man can only afford $10 boots that fall apart in 2 years. A wealthy man buys $50 boots that last 10 years. After a decade, the poor man has spent $50 on 5 pairs of terrible boots that left his feet wet. The wealthy man spent $50 on 1 pair of great boots and stayed dry the whole time. Same total cost. Completely different outcome. Except actually it's worse than that because the poor man also dealt with wet feet, blisters, and possibly medical bills. University of Bristol research found that low-income households pay an extra $600 to $2,800 per year just because they're poor. They can't buy in bulk. They can't access better rates. They pay more for the exact same products and services. 73% of people in poverty pay more for energy because they can't afford the upfront cost of energy-efficient options or the deposits for better plans. And it compounds. Harvard research found that prices for goods purchased by households earning under $30,000 increased 2% annually, while prices for households earning over $100,000 only increased 1.4%. The cheap stuff gets more expensive faster than the quality stuff. Let me give you a real example. Fast fashion versus quality clothing. A study found that fast fashion items get worn 76% fewer times than quality pieces. Let's do the math. You buy a $5 t-shirt from a fast fashion store. You wear it 5 times before it falls apart. That's $1 per wear. You buy a $50 quality t-shirt. You wear it 100 times over several years. That's 50 cents per wear. The expensive shirt is literally half the price when you calculate what you actually paid per use. Buying cheap is expensive. The wealthy figured this out. You haven't. Now let's talk about how wealthy people actually spend their money, because it's probably not what you think. A study of over 3,000 high net worth individuals found they save about 2/3 of their post-tax income. They're definitely not spending recklessly. But here's the key. They're not cheap on everything. They're cheap on liabilities and generous with assets. 94% of millionaires live below their means. 75% have never carried a credit card balance. 93% use coupons. But 79% receive no inheritance. They're self-made. The top car for people earning over $200,000 a year? Ford F-150 pickup truck. 90% of millionaires drive cars costing less than $75,000. Meanwhile, 86% of people driving luxury brands are not millionaires. They just look like they should be. Here's what millionaires actually spend on: education, quality items that last, financial planning, time-saving services, health, networking, mentorship. Warren Buffett spends 80% of his day reading. 85% of self-made millionaires read at least 2 books per month. They're investing in their brains. A study of 6,000 people found that spending money on time-saving services significantly increases life satisfaction across all income levels. The wealthy buy back their time because they know their time is worth more than the money they spend. Speaking of spending that pays you back, let me tell you about the most expensive way to save money: skipping healthcare. For every $1 spent on preventive dental care, patients save $8 to $50 in emergency treatments. $8 to $50. That's up to a 5,000% return. People who skip regular dental visits are 8 times more likely to end up in the emergency room for dental issues. An ER dental visit costs an average of $994. A cleaning costs $75. Physical inactivity costs Americans $117 to $192 billion in health care annually. Adults who exercise regularly spend $1,500 less per year on healthcare than inactive adults. Poor nutrition cost the U.S. economy $16 trillion over the past decade. That $3 you save buying junk food instead of vegetables, it's going to cost you thousands in health problems. Skipping the gym membership to save $30 a month while setting yourself up for diabetes that costs $9,600 a year to manage is not saving money. It's the most expensive decision you'll ever make. Now let me blow your mind with networking and mentorship. 85% of jobs are filled through networking. 70% of positions are never even posted publicly. Referral candidates are 5 times more likely to be hired. That conference ticket you didn't buy, that networking event you skipped, that mentorship program you thought was too expensive. Employees in mentoring programs get raises at 5 times the rate of non-participants, 25% versus 5%. Mentees are 5 times more likely to be promoted. Companies with mentoring programs have median profits twice as high as those without. Professional development returns $4.70 for every $1 invested. That's a 370% ROI. You're not saving money by avoiding these opportunities. You're paying with your future income. Let me tie this all together. There's a formula that actually builds wealth. Reasonable frugality plus strategic spending plus investing in growth. That's how millionaires do it. What doesn't work? Extreme frugality plus zero investment in yourself plus hoarding cash. That's the scarcity trap. That's how you stay poor forever. The wealthy spend less on liabilities, cars that depreciate, status symbols, lifestyle inflation, high interest debt. The wealthy spend more on assets, education, certifications, networking, quality items that last, health, time. A doctor earning $700,000 who spends $690,000 is less wealthy than a janitor earning $50,000 who invests the gap. But a janitor earning $50,000 spending $30,000 who invests nothing in growth will never escape. You need both. You need to spend less than you earn, and you need to invest in becoming more valuable. The ceiling on expense cutting is zero. You cannot spend negative money, but the ceiling on income growth is infinite. The ceiling on skills is infinite. The ceiling on opportunities is infinite. Every hour you spend extreme couponing is an hour you could spend learning a marketable skill. Every dollar you save by buying garbage that breaks is a dollar you'll spend 3 times over replacing it. Every opportunity you skip because it costs money is income you'll never earn. Your brain on scarcity is 13 IQ points dumber. Your purchases on the cheap cost more long term. Your career without investment stays exactly where it is. Stop being cheap. Start being strategic. Buy the quality boots. Take the certification course. Go to the networking event. Invest in your health. Pay for the mentorship. The math is not complicated. Spending money to make money isn't irresponsible. Refusing to is the real financial trap. You've been taught that saving is virtuous and spending is sinful. But the wealthy know the truth. The right spending is the best investment you'll ever make, and the wrong saving keeps you broke forever. If this video changed how you think about money, hit that subscribe button. I reveal the psychology and math of real wealth building every week. Drop a comment and tell me what's one thing you've been too cheap to invest in that you now realize might be holding you back. A course? A certification? Better equipment? Your health? I want to know what you're going to stop skipping. All right, go invest in yourself. I'll see you in the next one.